All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of the Beginner to Master Azul series. Um, I know it has been a while since I've recorded one of these, but I did do a game review episode. So if you haven't seen that, feel free to check that out. Plan on doing more of those in the future. So if you have any games that you're interested in having reviewed, feel free to link them in the comments or send them to me on Board Game Arena. So, um, yeah, where we last left off in this series, I was at 750 ELO on my main account. You can see now that I'm at 713. So you might think, oh, he lost a couple games. And in fact, I lost a ton of games. So I went from 750 down to like 640 in about 2 days, just plummeted 90 ELO, climbed all the way back up actually to like 757, and then had another dip. So it's been an up and down, um, week or two for me when it comes to Azul. And I think it really highlights how important it is to be confident when you're playing. And, when you lose a couple games, it's probably best to take a break, kind of clear your head. And because once you lose confidence, you start second guessing your plays and, maybe assuming your opponent's setting you up for a trap when they aren't. So all kinds of kind of thoughts intrude into your head that convince you that you're going to make the wrong play, basically. Um, and yeah, it's hard to get out of that place. I think you do have to win a couple games to kind of get your confidence back. And um, sometimes it feels like everything's going right. Sometimes it feels like everything's going wrong. So um, yeah, so it's been quite the ride for me since the last episode. Um, but let's see if we can play well today. I'm still feeling a little like shaky about my gameplay in general. Um, but let's get some games in and see what we can do. If we can get a game quickly. I do think I turned my game volume down. I was thinking about changing that, but I don't know that I can do that quickly enough. So might not be any game volume. Not sure if that will be weird for the video, but we've got enough players to start. So let's go ahead. We're up against a 596. Okay, so pretty interesting draw here. Very red and yellow heavy. So, I'd probably like to work on like red row 5 and then yellow upper rows. And what's maybe the best way to do that? Starting with red or starting with yellow? it is also, I talk about almost never building the side columns. I wonder if this is one of those cases where I should consider it. I kind of inherently don't. And I don't think I really will here, but okay, let's start with red row 5. I'm kind of assuming my opponent will take one yellow for their row 3, but they go for immediately challenging red. Okay, so how do we want to handle this? I think I'm happy to take the first player tile here, and I think I'll do it with 2 yellow. I don't want to take 2 white for row 3 and just like clog that up permanently, because there's a chance I could end up with row 3 yellow. It's very unlikely, I think. But let's leave that possibility open. Okay. So yeah, I guess here's how it could happen. So if I take one red, and they take one red to finish their row 5, then I get my row 3 yellow. Okay, let's go for black here for row 1. So it's a little more centralized, and it means we need fewer blacks for the rest of the game. So our opponent has the lead in red tiles. We'll see how that plays out. So basically, like, I need to be very aware of how many red tiles are remaining and making sure that I don't get stuck. This is an interesting draw because obviously, like, both of us want row 3 white, but there's this group of 3 blue hanging out that's really nice. And then we also we both want row 4 black. I think I'm kind of okay if my opponent gets the row 3 blue. It doesn't mean that I'll get row 3 white, because they could take white for their row 2. Basically what I'm thinking is, like, I can take the row 3 blue and score really well, versus, like, if I do that, I'm pretty sure they'll go for black. But the nice thing about that is then I can take 2 red with the first player token. So let's go for this. I'm a little worried about, like, neglecting black. Okay, so they're going for immediate red defense. So now what I need to be aware of is trying to make sure they don't get row 3 white, which I can do in a number of ways. I could even end up playing row 2 white. Of course, I could also go row 1 white. But definitely looking to not group whites. I don't want to put these 2 reds together and just let them take row 2 red. But I think I kind of have to take white now, because if I don't, they can just take 1 black and group these 4 whites together. So now my decision is it row 1 or is it row 2? I'd like to keep row 2 open for these blues or these reds, so I think I can do it I can take on row 1. Okay, so I think what I'll do here is take 1 red and for row 5, And that way, if they take the last red, I can grab the 2 blue, and then they'll end up with these 3 yellow in the end, which actually is fine for them. They'll just play row 3 yellow. But I think I'll like let them have it. Like I can't, if I take 1 yellow here, then they just get 2 red. So I can't really stop the row 3 yellow on this turn. Okay, so this is quite nice for me actually. So I'm going to get to finish my row 5, and I have a guaranteed row 2 with blue or white. So was able to get some really nice board development. I got another row 3, finished my row 5, and I prevented them from getting either row 3 or row 4. So up by 1. And feeling pretty good about where I'm at. Now it is apparent that I might struggle on row 4 black. So that's unfortunate. If we're looking at this round, I do need to be a little bit careful, just because if I go for row 3 white immediately and don't get row 2 red, then I'm out on row 2s because there's no, I can't get row 2 black. So I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go for row 2 red immediately, just to secure it. That way I can potentially also get row 3 white, knowing that, okay, so I'm not going to get not going to get row 3 white. Not too much of a surprise there. Okay, so let's take the red that forces the white into the middle. Okay, so this is a little interesting. If I were to take 1 black, they'd only be left with yellow and blue options for their top row, and it's not good. But if they were to take 1 red, then I would be stuck with the same situation. That being said, I could take the yellows after they take the red, and then they would be stuck with 7 blues. So let's make this play. I should say they don't have to take the blues in the scenario I laid out. Yeah, so we're going to see it play out. But basically, like I'm going to get my row 1, and they will either pay a lot for row 1 or get this row 5 that doesn't really do anything for them. And then I get this white to contribute to my row 3. So I think they'll be a little bit ahead at the end of this round. Maybe I should have considered a different path there. The tile draws are not helping my cause here. I'm basically forced into 2 white. Which means I have to pick up this 2 black or some 2 black for my row 2. And I'm looking at probably giving my opponent 3 blue And they can potentially start building this middle column because there's so many whites left. So what do we do? What do we do? I don't hate taking the one red right here. And grouping up these blues, so at least if they want row 3 blue, they'll have to take an extra tile for it. So let's do that. They, of course, can like take blue and group some of these blacks up. Okay, I don't mind that terribly, to be honest, because it's row 4 black. I can pay a little bit extra. It's not crazy. That being said, I think I have to do that right now. Yeah, I wonder if I needed to take a different line in the last round. I'm not really seeing my path to victory here. Oh, I guess we did force them off of row 1 in the last round, so they'll be scoring a little bit less. And actually, the 7-point lead, that's quite surprising to me. I thought they would score better in that round, but I guess all they got was the row 1, and the row 2 black was not great for them. Did they take row 2 black? Okay, so they choose to end the game. Makes sense, I guess, but we should have good play here. Obviously, we want 2 white, but we don't just want to give them 3 yellow. So we can think about taking 3 white, and if they make a play for the yellow, then we just grab them on for row 5. So let's do that. We have 2 options for row 1 blue, and neither of them group the yellows together, which is great. And then we also have black and red available for row 3. So not much danger that we can get in this round. Okay, so we can both play row 4 white in the event that that happens, but... And now row 3 black is off the table. Red is still on for either of us. I don't mind grouping the reds together because if they take them, then they shut down the yellow, row 3 yellow, which is worth much more. So this is a 6-point play versus a 3-point play. So I think I'm happy to take this blue. And if they want the row 3 reds, you know, I'm okay. Okay, so they're basically, they'll trade the they'll opt for one of these 6-point plays, which is good. But for me, I'll just take the red for my own 7-point play, and then take whichever of these they don't, and I'm fine with either. So I don't need to defend either one of those right now. They're guaranteed to get one of them. So instead, I should focus on making sure I secure my points, and now we can take this away. Nope, this is correct for them. Yeah, so this is yeah. Okay, so they did it correct. So you might be tempted sometimes to take 2 black because you have it open, but because I'm further ahead on negatives, like they go -1, but I go -4, so that's net gain 3, versus they go -0, I go -2 for a net gain of 2. Okay, so we come out on top in that game. It didn't feel great, honestly, in rounds 3 and 4. But yeah, we made life a little bit tougher for our opponent, I guess, with preventing a row one play. Um, and we were able to get a little bit better, like scoring. Our row three was more filled out as well. So, okay, let's do another. Yeah, sorry if the lack of game audio makes this weird. Okay, Killer BR, friend of mine. Hopefully not. But even if it does end up being a loss, hopefully we get some good insight. Okay, so I did the tile counts already. Okay, 2 blue there. So yeah, don't love my options in terms of like taking any of the groups of 2. So obviously taking 2 blue gives 3 white. Taking 2 white, I guess that's not awful, but he could play 2 blue in the center and there's still these to fill that out. And then similarly, like taking 2 red gives 2 black or 2 white. So I'm going to take from the center, and I don't want to commit myself too hard to anything. So I'm just going to take 1 black for row 1. Okay. I think what I'll do, it'd be interesting to take 2 red here. Group up these whites, stop some row 5 progress, and keep myself open on either of the third or fourth columns. I think I like that. So you kind of can't take 1 white because that groups the 3 blues together, which is really strong for me. So not necessarily forced to take 2 white. Okay, so this is interesting. So now kind of pivoting to the fourth column, and now needs, white here and white here. So the question for me is, do I take 2 white, or do I group all 3 of them and kind of force him to play it on row 3 and then make no progress on row 5 white? I think I'll take 2 white. And now the question is where to play them. I want to be able to like reasonably defend blue, so maybe taking row 4 white and then taking some row 3 blue action makes the most sense here. And he has no use for blacks, so I should be able to get some row 5 black as well. And I think I'll like purposefully group the blacks up. Okay, so now a question of what do I value more, this one additional blue or two additional blacks? Because I only get one of them. Because if I take the blue, he'll take the blacks. If I take the blacks, he'll take the blues. Maybe that was a reason not to group up the blacks earlier. Maybe just taking a blue from the center would have been smarter to avoid this situation where I'm left with one of these. The thing with the blues is that there were 6 of them. So like there's a world in which there aren't 2 available to me next round, or there's 2 of them but they're split up. So I think I'm gonna go for the blue and ensure that I can finish that next round, versus, even though like I'm gaining 1 tile instead of 2 tiles overall, because of this potential scarcity of blues, I'm really worried about getting stuck with this again. Okay, so I would have just thrown those out. Seems my internet's a little slow today. So Killer BR does have a nice 5-point lead. It would have been 3 points if he hadn't thrown out the, or if he had thrown out the blacks instead of playing them. Crazy draw for yellows. That's 10 yellows. Um, 14 and 13. Okay, so we can see immediately why that blue play was important. If I had 2 openings here, then there's no way I'm completing it this round. But now I'm guaranteed to be able to complete it this round. So let's take the white for our row 4. That's a pretty kind of obvious play for us. And then we'll pick up the blue later. I would really like to be able to get this black and keep my opponent crisscrossed here. But I'm not sure if it will be possible. Okay, so it will be possible to stop them, but we might just end up taking 1 black or something. So definitely taking the blues here. This is a bit of a weird round because of all these yellows, and we have, rows 1, 2, and 5 to play them. It's very likely we end up with a row 2 yellow. But it looks like I'm going to have to give up row 5 black. Because if I take black and then they take yellow, I don't have to give up row 5 black, actually. I will take a bunch of negatives, though, which might happen anyway. So if I take yellow, he takes black, I take yellow again. I think I'm going to end up with a bunch of negatives anyway, so I'm just going to throw the black away. And actually, I don't need to throw it away because I want it for row 5, so that works out nicely. And I'm basically accepting my fate of taking a lot of negative yellows and I, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, hoping that I get a big advantage from my opponent remaining crisscrossed for another round. But the damage on the negatives isn't going to be that bad because he also has to play these yellows. So like he kind of has to take 3 yellow here and then just give me 2 red, and then I get really nice point scoring. So this worked out quite nicely. We're an extra -4 relative to our opponent, but we also scored more, so down by 3. And kind of another crazy draw, and one that's pretty nice for us, just in that our opponent will not complete black again if we choose. I'm trying to think of what makes more sense for us here, because yeah, I think it has to be holding them off from black, right? So if they finish blue but not black, then they still are going to need 5 whites, and or 4 whites, I guess. But there's only 6 whites left. If we let them finish black but not blue, I guess then they definitely need 5 whites. Um, hmm. They pay a hefty premium for finishing blacks. Um, there's 11 left. I'm gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's just ensure we make progress on black, and hopefully I can still pick up 2 blue. Basically, I'm expecting Killer BR to take these 2 blue for row 4, and then I'll take white for row 3 and group these other 2 blue together, which you could play on row 1. Um, and if that's the case, I can get these whites for row 2, which isn't terrific by any means, but still gets me a row 2 play. So this is the danger of like the having your rows crisscrossed, because while they were crisscrossed, a lot of white came out. And so once he clears these up, he needs white, but there's only 6 left. Okay. So we go for 2 white. I expect him to just take 2 red. And then we'll get 1 yellow most likely. Or actually, we can just take the 3 red to prevent row 3 red, and we're happy with either white or yellow. So let's do that. And we can play these. Shouldn't hurt us too much since we're already done with the row 4 for our column. We're happy to. It's not going to score us many points in the future, but better than going -5. There's some risk of this opens up some risk of like taking negatives next round, depending on what shows up. Okay, so we're back to being down by 5. So our opponent can like reasonably get all four of the row four white that they need this round, but then there's only two left and they need them on row two and row one, so it makes it a little bit tough. Okay, so they take one black, putting the pressure on our one black. I think it's fine to just take it here and kind of force them into this three black situation if they want to finish row five. So giving up the first player token. This is interesting for them. Like row three black is really strong for me. So they're heavily incentivized to take it. But they may not want to give up the first player token. That being said, if they take the three black, I might kind of be forced into three blue for my row two. So they opt to build row two white instead of row four white. Okay. I can't really take the row three black, or rather, I can't take it for row three because then they take three blue, they get this great point scoring, and then I'm left with nothing on row two. So then you could say, okay, I could take row two black, but then I'm one at risk of blue negatives, and they still get this great play. So I think the play is row two blue, and they still have this decision to make on these blacks, whether they play row three, whether they play row five. There's six blacks left, so like honestly, I would probably take the points on I would have taken the points on row three black. I don't understand this. They need white, so I don't understand throwing this away. This does force me to end up taking four reds in the end. But I'm okay with that. And like this play is super strong for me. It blocks 5 points for them. It blocks their row five progress. I have blue and yellow open on row one, so I don't have to worry about anything there. And sure, I'll take some negatives from these reds, but they'll be worth at least 3 points, so that's nice. So I think my opponent, probably should have secured those points because then I'd be left with pretty much nothing else this round other than row one yellow. But this is a big point swing. I'm going to score 5 or 6 for this. So they could have scored 5 and taken away this 5. So this is like a 10-point swing potentially. Okay, so takes the yellow. It's kind of interesting because it opens them up for like using this red instead of dumping it on me and like getting some points next round. But yeah, so I'm kind of forced to take the blue. We'll see what they decide with the red. They have blocked their ability to complete a column by playing this yellow. So it could have ended up that they had 2 whites here instead of 2 yellows. And yeah, they're just unable to complete a column or a full color. So we're down by 2, but in reality, we're up by 5. Because they can't match our existing column bonus. Now in this round, yeah, what we need to look out for is just taking negatives, or being outscored. So our opponent has some opportunities to outscore us because they'll score on row 4. There's a possibility they score on row 3. They've already locked up row 2, and they'll get row 1. My row 2 is not guaranteed. I could guarantee it, but to do so, all the yellows can get grouped up. So I'm going to take my 1 yellow. And the idea here, I don't think I'm going to be able to group up the 4 yellows for row 3 yellow. So obviously I want black. But the problem is that these blues are a pain for me. What I can do is take this 1 black, and that groups the 2 whites together. So that puts some pressure on him to take the whites. And then, if he does that, I can take the black. If not, I can actually take the 1 blue, and that shuts down row 3 blue. It groups up the 4 yellow for me, which is great. So let's do that. Let's take the black from here. And if he takes the black, then I think I'll take this blue. The other thing that does is bunch these. No. Once the black is gone, the reds will come to me. So. Oh, fascinating. Okay, so trading off. So I get the black, he gets the whites. I take the blues on row 5. He takes -2 from yellows. I take row 3 red. Whoops, not the tiles I want. So taking the white here doesn't make sense because we're basically scoring the same. I'm scoring maybe slightly more, but he gets extra points for black and yellow. So like taking the whites would be an extra -3 for me when he would only have to take 1 black. So yeah, so now I take these blues. Minus for the yellows, and then these get played here for 3 points, and -1 instead of 4 points and -5. And with our column bonus, yeah, we are going to win by exactly the column bonus. Good game, Killer BR. Thanks for being a good sport and playing on for the recording. So we'll do one more. Okay. I reset all the sound. So we should get game sound now. Hopefully it wasn't too awkward without game sound. All right, Gonzalo DLPG. I think this is potentially a player who has not been happy with how long I take to make plays, so I'm sure they'll be extra happy with how long it will take me to make plays while recording. Okay, so red and black heavy draw, some blue here. Let's kind of proceed as I normally would and start with row 5 red. I had a comment on one of the videos asking about the advantage of going first overall, not like the first player tile in each round, but just going first overall. And I honestly don't have a good sense for what that advantage might be. I think by the time the game has ended, I've generally like forgotten who went first. So if anyone has any data on that or a sense for it, feel free to drop that in the comments. I'd be curious to know what people think. Okay, so here, I think I'm just going to grab these blues for row 2. It's kind of interesting to think about grabbing them for row 3. But if I grab on row 3 and then he goes 2 blue, I'm kind of forced to take this, and then he can get row 3 black, and I want my blacks. So let's just do this on row 2, keep things tidy. Okay. So what are we competing for? He's not competing for black. I'm not competing for blue, so we're competing for white. That being said, there's a chance for like row 3 blue or row 3 yellow. So I don't know that I want to just like grab white for row 3. The odds are slim, but it could happen. So I'm thinking of just grabbing a red. I'm expecting, oh, that's interesting. I was expecting a play for the 2 blue. I think, making progress there makes a lot of sense. Okay, so from here we'll just, this is actually interesting. I could guarantee myself a row 3. Like I could basically trade his 3 yellow for my 3 blue. That seems kind of nice. So I take black, he gets yellow, I get blue, he gets white, I get black. I have the first player tile, so I have an advantage there. Okay, interesting. So pivoting, which is fine. And now actually I think I can just take the black and ensure that I get that. And then I'm happy with either white or yellow, and he doesn't have a good place to play yellow. So this is slightly better, I think, than, if I take yellow first, he could take the black, and then I'm stuck with the white doing nothing. Okay, so what are we looking at? Kind of a lot of flexibility this round. Should be able to secure row 5 red. Should be able to secure row 4 black. Our row 2 can be white or yellow, or even red. So I think I'll start with just working on row 3 white. My opponent obviously wants white. This puts a black in the middle to potentially get grouped for my row 4. I do expect them to take some black for row 5, so this row 4 is not a guarantee, but I will be prioritizing it. Yep, so they come in with the black. So a bit of an interesting situation. Like, I don't want to take either of the two blacks that puts the reds in the middle, because then those can get grouped. I'm thinking of just taking a white and putting pressure on white such that I can just take a row 1 white and prevent his row 4 white. So let's do that. This also starts grouping the yellows, which he wants. But it's actually like, it's kind of a deterrent for him to take a black here. Yeah, so now I can grab a black. Okay, so here's where we need to be a little careful, because if I take the black, these reds all get grouped up. So I think I'm just going to take the reds. We'll finish this out. We might lose out on row 4 black, which I'm not thrilled about, but I think given how the round went, it's what was best. And then, yeah, I'm thinking of just taking... So I actually can't do this. So the problem with taking 1 white here is that if he takes 2 red, then I'm not guaranteed a row 2. So I think I need to take 1 white here, and now I will get either the 2 yellow or the 3 red on my row 2. That being said, this gives him a free row 3 red for kind of no reason. So now I'm reevaluating taking the 2 red, and if he groups the whites up, I'll just grab him on row 1. So I think this is the better play. Yep, so we take the 2 whites for row 1, and this is doubly nice because he ends up with these 2 blues to throw away. So I expect kind of 1 yellow on row 3 here. I'll take the red, and then he throws away the 2 blues. Okay, throwing away the 2 blues instantly. Don't understand that. So I will now take the yellow. I'm not sure. I think smart would have been good to take the yellow here. You're not going to be putting whites here. Yeah, so as I said, this guy is not thrilled with my gameplay for whatever reason. Literally just took 4 whites and dumped them. So I guess just giving up. Which is odd. So take 1 black. Don't understand this at all. Um, so I guess sorry that you guys have to watch this. Pretty big waste of time. Great. Um, so I've been thinking about the future of the series. I think I'll probably go to episode 20 since I'm at 18. So that can be a nice like round number to end it off on. Um, and then I can move on to continuing to do the game reviews, which I plan to do anyway. But yeah, I'm thinking about some other series as well. Maybe one of similar to game reviews, but like studying high level play. And when I mean that, I mean like Saprolot and Phosphate and folks that are, able to consistently maintain a very high ELO. Um, that don't experience the dips that I showed you that I experienced at the top of the video. Um, so yeah, that would be more of a like learn along with me because I look at some of those plays and I don't understand what's going on. So it would be kind of studying those and trying to figure out what the logic is behind stuff. Um, let's just undo some plays a couple times here for fun. Okay, and now we'll just end the game. Very bizarre, very bizarre opinion from my opponent. I wasn't even actually taking that much time. They just seemed upset about the fact that I would undo plays. So, don't understand that, but best of luck to them in the future, I guess. And of course, they'll, I assume, take the weird. Yeah, so if you're watching this and you run into Gonzalo DLPG in the future, make sure to never undo a play because that is weak, I guess. Let's see how long the recording is. 59 minutes. All right, let's try to just fit in one more since that one was so weird. If we don't get one fairly quickly, then I'll probably call it. Okay, we got one. 566. And a very interesting draw. Oh, that's actually 9, isn't it? So I like what my opponent did here. I think a lot of people would maybe like start jumping on the blues, but the yellow is actually really strong because the 4 blue is super likely for them. So by locking down the yellow, they've gained an advantage over me where like I can't build. I mean, I could build 4 blue, but um, I'm not going to get any progress on yellow. So I'll take 3 blue for the middle, and basically my plan will be to load up on the upper row blues. Um, so I think I will allow them to take 2 white and the first player tile at the expense of I'm gonna shut down the row 4 blue completion. Okay, so I'll take another blue. Now they should take 1 blue here and group the 2 yellows and the 2 blacks to ensure that they can complete row 2. If they take something, yeah, so had they taken something from the middle, it would have been a little bit dicey. Okay, so let's build the column that they're going to need the least overlap with, which is the second column. So I shouldn't face any competition on black, and I should face only minor competition on red. I will face competition on row 3 white, of course. And let's hope for a draw with no blues. Oh, 1 blue. Okay, so yeah, I mean, so that's why we took all those blues, knowing that it was the most used tile in the last round. Put them in a position where even with only needing 1, like their hand was completely forced there. So we're looking at filling out yellow, maybe rows 2 and 3, since there's no white for our row 3. And then obviously working on row 5 red. And I think I'm okay to just take the blacks for row 4 here and just lock that in. I don't want a situation where like I start doing red and then they take row 2 black and then row 1 black. So let's get row 4 out of the way. This does open me up to like them jumping on reds, which is good for them. Interesting that they decide to only take 1. So what happens now is, like if I take 2 red and they take 2 red and I take 2 red, then all these yellows get grouped up. And then I'm kind of screwed on my row 2 maybe. So I think what I'm going to do is grab this white for row 2 first. And then if I have to end up like playing 6 yellows on row 3, it's not the end of the world. And actually, like if I take red and they take red, then I can take 2 black and dump 6 yellows on them. So taking red here is very safe for me. And they're like completely stuck. They can't, yeah, so they have to do this, exactly. And now I get my red. Or do I take the yellows? So if I take the red, they take black, I get 4 yellows on row 1, versus I could take the yellows and, they would get the red, but then I get row 1 and row 3. There's 12 red left. I need 5. I have the first player tile. This does give them better scoring. But I think I kind of like getting both rows. So I take fewer negatives. I get an extra row 3, which is actually going to be like, it's 2 points now. It's going to add more points to it's going to add an additional point to my row 3 white, and it's going to add an additional point to my row 2 red. Now, a bit unfortunate here that there's only 2 red. That's going to make life a little bit more difficult for me. But, you know, we're looking at row 1 and 2 yellow, maybe red's here, white's here, and blacks we need to be careful for. So don't want to run into a bunch of negatives at the end of the round for black. But I think just starting with white, securing this, defending it from our opponent. And let's see what happens if we both take white. If I take white and they take white, then I can take 1 yellow and ensure that the 5 blacks end up on them, which is really the only thing I'm worried about. So let's do this. If they don't take white, I can just take it. Okay, so the thing that I am, oh no, I can't, I've botched this. I can't ensure they end up with the blacks. They can ensure that I end up with the blacks. I had it backwards. I was thinking 4 in the middle, which I talk about all the time, but now I've done it to myself. So what do we do here? We try to pick the tiles that would be most awkward for them to take. So I'm going to take the yellows for row 2. This means to dump the blacks on me, they have to take 1 yellow, which is a very awkward play for them. So I expect them to instead like take 3 blue or 3 black. And now I get to make sure that they end up with the 5 blacks. Which is fine for them. Like I'm not dumping a bunch of negatives or anything, but it's better than me taking them. So they're going to play them on row 2, I guess. So it will end up being a decent number of negatives. So I'm not sure about this. I think if your plan was to play the blacks on row 4, then maybe you go row 2 blue instead of row 3 blue. Okay. So these 3 blacks are really nice for us on row 3, but I think my highest priority at the moment is row 2 red. So lock that in and then try to get reds for row 1 and row 5 as well. We're down by 4, but our opponent's missing a row 2. Other things we're looking for this round, row 4 white. Our opponent also can score nicely on white, so this is actually a pretty like contested tile or a contested color, and maybe would have been worth prioritizing over red. The thing is, I didn't want to let the reds get grouped up and then put myself in a really dicey situation. There's 6 of them left, so I look good for the next round. So this is interesting. I think I want to just take the 1 red for control of round 5. The other option would be working on row 4 white. But then, for example, they can take the blacks and group the reds, and then my hand is really forced for the rest of the round. So let's do this. Okay, so what this play tells me is that because I would think row 3 white is the move, especially with most likely building row 2 blue. What this move tells me is they want to try to build this second column. And so jumping on these 3 blacks pretty much shuts that down. There's only 3 blacks left in the game after this round, so even if they get these 2 blacks, they are in bad shape for this additional column. So I think it would have been better to just secure these points, especially because they're up by 4. So I mean, they're obviously getting the points here, but I don't know about row 4 versus row 3. Okay, so I want to make this row 2 blue cost more, so I'm going to take a black and throw it away. And then I'm happy with white or red on row 1. The red is slightly better, so we'll play the red. Yeah, so had my opponent like played row 3 white, they could, potentially be still contributing to row 4 white, or like playing row 4 yellow, which could score, 6 points next round, if this white weren't here. Yeah, and then this is like, unfortunately not good because there's only 3 whites left. So now, they're setting themselves up. I mean, I guess they don't need this white, right? Because they can play black. So that's not the end of the world, but with only 3 white left and I need 1, this is, I think it is maybe like, it's the best spot for this tile because they're probably not playing row 3 black with only 3 of those left. But, oh, and my counts are off. So there are 4 white left. Yeah, we're up by 1. We have opportunities to fill all 3 of the top rows. So let's just go ahead and end the game. This is a very valuable set of tiles for our opponent also, because now they're looking at only row 2 white, which means they need all 4 of these to finish row 2 and row 3, but I need 1 white, so that won't be happening. So we should win quite handily here. We will also most likely pick up row 3 or row 4 red for additional points. And yeah, let's grab a white, and no matter which white he takes, we will get row 4 red or row 3 red. So row 4 red is worth 6. -1 from the first player tile is 5. This is worth 8. +2 from the bonus is 10. -2 is 8. So very clearly row 3 is better. It also leaves our row 4 open for blue or white. I'm sorry, blue or yellow. But since he took the blue, can't play either of those. So not much to think about. Our opponent can't score anymore. We're going to end up with one of these groups of 3. So let's just take a -1 here. He should take the black. We'll take the red. And then we can play either the blue or the yellow. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. And we take some more negatives, but our point scoring was better, and we have an extra 4 points in bonuses. So 8-point victory. Okay. Yeah, pretty good episode. Glad that I was able to play well. As I said, it's been a bit of a shaky ride for me since the last episode. So back up to 735. Sorry for the weird third game. Don't know what that was about, but yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.